Good evening, and thank you for being with us tonight for the Tuesday, February 4th, 2014 meeting of the Berkeley County Board of Education. As you know, this is a rescheduled meeting from January 28th due to the winter weather we experienced last week. With that said, I'll call the meeting to order. I'll declare that a quorum is present and that the media has been notified. Do I have a motion and a second for approval of tonight's agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Obie. Thank you, Dr. Etheridge. There is a motion from Mr. Obie. That motion has been seconded by Dr. Etheridge to approve tonight's agenda. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The measure is approved. If you would please join us tonight in the opening prayer and Pledge of Allegiance.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, up next for tonight is agenda item number 4, entitled Approval of Minutes from both the January 14th work session as well as the January 14th regular meeting. Do I have a motion and a second to approve those minutes?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes of January the 14th and January the work session and January 14th the regular meeting.
Okay.
Second.
All right, thank you. Dr. Etheridge has made a motion to approve the minutes of the January 14th work session as well as the regular meeting on the same date. Mr. Obie has seconded that motion. All of those in favor of approving the minutes of both the work session and regular meeting of January 14th, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries. The minutes of January 14th have been approved. Moving to agenda item number 5, do I have a motion for the approval of the November 2013 as well as the December 2013 Head Start reports and budgets?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the Head Start budget and expenditure report and the Head Start credit card report for November and December of 2013, along with the new hires for the 2014 and 2015 recruitment plan and enrollment selection criteria, and the Berkeley Dorchester Head Start financial manual as presented in Board Agenda Item 5.
I'll second.
Thank you. Mr. Obie has made a motion, and that motion has been seconded by Ms. Lee to approve the November 2013, December 2013 Head Start reports and budgets. For the record, I'll repeat the motion. A motion has been made to approve Head Start budget expenditures, reports, and Head Start credit card reports for November and December 2013, as well as new hires, the 2014-2015 recruitment plan and enrollment selection criteria, and the Berkeley Dorchester Head Start financial manual as presented in Board Agenda Item number 5. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. 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 All opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. The Head Start reports for November 2013, December 2013 have been approved. Now we're moving on to agenda item number 6, citizen comments. Tonight we have one comment from Mr. Jeff Ruhr. Mr. Ruhr is from Summerville, South Carolina, and he would like to speak on the subject of board policy and procedures. Mr. Ruhr, the podium is yours. And Mr. Ruhr, let me stick with tradition here. Citizen comment procedures. In order to conduct the meeting in an orderly and efficient manner, we ask that you honor the following guidelines. Stakeholder comments are welcomed and encouraged. However, the board will not take immediate action on public comments at this meeting. Any person wishing to address the board must register prior to the meeting. Comments must be regarding programs, policies, or procedures. Comments regarding an employee or student other than the child of the speaker will not be heard in public session. Groups addressing the same topic should select one speaker. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker. The board chair reserves the right to allot additional time or halt public comments that do not adhere to the guidelines. Thank you for your patience, Mr. Ruhr.
Superintendent Thompson, Chairman Murray, board members, good evening.
Good evening.
I addressed this board in May of 2013 over my concerns that you were spending $30,000 for the defense of 3 district employees under investigation by SLED for state law ethics violations. I asked you at that time to reconsider your decision because no charges had been filed and because if charges were brought and were found to be criminal in nature, the district would be under no obligation to pay for their defense. I asked how you plan to recover this money if in fact criminal charges were filed. I have now found out that the fees have likely exceeded 6 figures. A court injunction was recently filed to ask that district employees not be deposed because their testimony might incriminate themselves or others. Really? It is the responsibility of this board to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. Children in elementary grades collect can tabs, soup labels, and box tops to raise money for supplies in their classrooms. Every year, the Berkeley County School District holds a Stuff the Bus campaign to collect supplies for schools. These are all good projects, but seem senseless when this board is willing to spend in excess of $100,000 on this nonsense. Yes, I said nonsense because this entire fiasco could have been avoided with a simple apology from the district. It is the arrogance of this board and some district employees that have brought us to this. You have not been good stewards and you have not set a good example for our children. You all need to be held accountable. Berkeley County children and Berkeley County taxpayers deserve better. If you are unwilling or lack the courage to take the stand to do what is right and honorable, then perhaps you should consider termination of your positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ruhr. Moving on to, and that concludes our citizen comments this evening. Now we'll move on to agenda item number 7, entitled Legacy Builders, for our special recognition tonight from the Teacher Forum for Board Member Appreciation. Ms. Kovach, and as the representative of the school board, Teacher Forum, we're so thankful for the reception you threw for us this evening. Thank you so much. Ms. Kovach.
Good evening, Dr. Murray, Dr. Thompson, and members of the board. You have in your packet tonight our monthly legacy builders. I'm not going to take time to go through all of the wonderful things our students and teachers and staff are doing to help all of our children learn, but there are some really amazing examples of how our children are learning and living and doing just fantastic things in Berkeley County. I am going to take a minute, though, to turn it over for special recognitions. Our special recognition tonight is you, our board members. Usually we do this at the last meeting in January. As you mentioned, because of the ice last week, we canceled, so we're going to have board member recognition tonight. And it's my honor to turn it over to Stephanie Wallace, our Teacher Forum Teacher of the Year leader.
Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, members of the board, ladies and gentlemen, I'm honored to stand here tonight on behalf of Teacher Forum and all of my fellow teachers to express our deepest gratitude for the challenging and admirable job that each of you do every day. We want you to know how much we appreciate your support and encouragement of teacher leadership and Teacher Forum. We value your dedication to our students as you put their needs and safety above all else. We know that your work and decisions affect every student from our high school seniors all the way down to our youngest early childhood students. We also know it's not every day that you get to see the direct and positive impact that your work has on teachers, students, and learning. So my multi-age first and second graders culminated a unique performance task by creating a special video message for you this evening. as you can see, you are serving as role models for our students as you welcome new challenges and solve problems with dedication and passion every day. At this time, my fellow forum members would like to present each of you with some student-created cards and notes of appreciation from our schools. And I would also like to ask everyone to join me in applauding our school board for their outstanding efforts and service to our district. So from our hearts to yours, thank you.
All right, this one is for Dr. Mary. It comes more love. These cards are only from the students. All the babies in Berkeley County School District made these homemade cards just for you all. So Dr. Mary, thank you so much. This is for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Outstanding. I will read every one of them and cherish them. Thank you.
And these are for Mr. Obie.
You can read this one in the back.
This is for Miss Wilhelmina Moore. I have one for Mr. Schultz.
Thank you.
Etheridge.
And these are for Dr. Thompson.
Thank you very much.
And a special thank you to Mrs. Shannon Lee.
On behalf of Berkeley County School District babies, we all love you and we appreciate everything that you've done for us. Thank you so much.
And we thank you. Thank you. We certainly thank the teacher forum so much. Miss Wallace, thank you for sharing those beautiful children with us. I could tell you were proud of them. I could see the pride. And, we want to say something to you, too. We realize that January was School Board Appreciation Month, but all of us appreciate the jobs that you do. And I learned at a very young age that the most important job in all of society is that of a teacher. So we send it right back to you. We thank you for all you do. Thank you. Ms. Kavach, is that it? Where's Miss? You good? All right. Before we move on to agenda item number 8, we like to take the opportunity to allow any of those who would like to leave at this time. Certainly our teachers have worked all day. This is a great opportunity for those folks to exit early. So if any of you would like to leave now, would be a great time because it's going to be a long meeting and we're going to be here a while. With that said, we'll move on to agenda item number 8, administration and facilities. Tonight, Mr. Franchini will be sharing information, along with others, with the board regarding the Kane Hoy Daniel Island Community Committee report, as well as a quarterly construction report. Mr. Franchini.
Good evening, Dr. Murray.
Good evening.
Dr. Thompson, members of the board, and I too want to join in thanking you for all the work that you do for our children and for our teachers and everyone in our community every day. Tonight it's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Herman Gaither. Mr. Gaither has been working with the Kane Hoy Daniel Island Community Committee as a facilitator of the community meeting process. He's done an exemplary job at coordinating the many diverse perspectives of the committee and synthesizing them into a community recommendation. Mr. Gaither has had a distinguished career in education. He last served as the superintendent for the Beaufort County School District prior to his retirement. When not enjoying a round of golf, Mr. Gaither also consults with school districts, builders, contractors, and community planners who are building new schools to accommodate South Carolina's population growth, and has become a sought-after expert in the field. Mr. Gaither also has vast knowledge of K-12 education, which ensures that instructional and financial objectives are met while balancing the needs of the community to have critical input. During this process, Mr. Gaither gained this insight as a teacher, administrator, and award-winning superintendent for the Beaufort County School District. And during this process, he has done an outstanding job in working to meet the needs of all the committee members and also our school district. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Herman Gaither, who will share with you the Kane Hoy Daniel Island Community School community new school site recommendation, and the much anticipated lower grades in this community.
Thank you, Doctor. To the board and administration, first of all, let me thank you for allowing community input. A lot of times when you get into the decision-making process, it's a lot easier to do it yourself. But it is so much more fruitful when you bring the people who are going to be concerned with your decisions into the process by which you make those decisions. And I commend the administration and the board for that. Secondly, I'd like to commend the members of the committee. We started way back when it was warm, and we ended up when it was cold. We had some very lively, some very intense, but always civil discussions. And what you're going to hear tonight is the result of those meetings. More than 33 members of the community met over in a series of meetings starting in late September and ending in the middle of January. Very early on, we made two very important decisions as far as we are concerned. Number one, we felt that the board-approved, referendum-approved middle school needed to be expanded to a K-8 facility. The second decision we made was that we needed to take the committee and divide it into two subcommittees. And one of those subcommittees would look at the academic structure of that K-8 facility, and the other would look at the placement of that K-8 structure. We felt that the academic guys needed to meet first in the event that their decision would have some bearing as to where the location needed to be. The grade configuration school type committee looked at grade structure. We looked at all the different kind of programs. We took advantage of all the research that was available locally, nationally, online, and all the other places. And we listened to people who had expertise in all kinds of fields and all kinds of areas. The school site committee had access to all of the data that was available from Berkeley County, from the city of Charleston, and from the Department of Transportation, and we reviewed all the options that might be necessary as we move forward with the construction of the facility. The teacher forum had a huge role in as bringing their expertise in their online, real-time, this is what we're doing every day, and I want Mr. Petrie to kind of give you the idea as to how they participated in this process.
I think before I start on that, my fellow teacher forum members were a little remiss. They failed to mention to you that the cards that you were handed when they were trying to decide who would get which card, they did it primarily based on how old they thought you were and thus how bad your eyesight was. So Mr. Murray, if you could hold that up again. I think the average guess was 150.
Yes.
So we do, on behalf of Teacher Forum and all the teachers, we really appreciated being able to participate in this and kind of see behind the curtain how the coming together of the community, the school system, the board makes for a quality process that occasionally, as we talked about, can be a little messy, but I think anytime you're going to do something democratic, it's going to be a little messy. But in the end, we were all able to come together as educators and as community members, and it worked really well. I really appreciated the fact that we were able to answer any questions anybody had from an educational standpoint, and we were also allowed to give input at any time concerning the methodology and the direction we were going to go. Primarily with the STEAM method, I think Mr. Gaithers is going to talk about before too long here, and the curriculum choices and the direction, the primary direction that the school is going to go. But also, when we talk about the configuration, safety is always of importance. And I had the unique perspective teaching at Cane Bay that we have a high school and lower grades right across, almost functioning as a single campus, if that makes sense. And then I happen to live in Park West, where there's a model that's similar to that, and we found that to be collectively a fantastic idea. And I think Mr. Gaithers is going to talk about some of the things that perhaps we want to expand to as far as the grade levels. I also like the fact that of primary importance at the top of the chart, so to speak, were critical thinking skills, problem-solving skills that was of great importance to the community, It's of great importance to me. If we don't have critical thinking skills, the curriculum won't matter. If our kids can't think critically, all the way down to, I know companies will contact me about what are commonly called soft skills, and there was an emphasis on that and everything in between. So I definitely appreciated that as well. I would be, again, remiss if I didn't point out Mr. Gaither did a fantastic job leading us along, guiding us. I also want, there are a number of people that worked on it, but I want to thank Archie Francini for his participation as well. He helped a great deal from an educational standpoint, and in particular, Amy Kovach, or Kovach, depending upon which one's here tonight. I really want to, I want to thank her as well. I'm surprised that she can do anything else with the rest of her job, because this was a consuming process in a very positive way. So again, I appreciate it. I felt like we had a lot of input. And from an educational standpoint, I believe teachers should have an input. So thank you again.
I'll go into a bit more detail in the recommendations as we move through the slides. The committee recommends that to the superintendent that the new facility be for grades K through 8. We felt that this is the most logical and reasonable way to meet the current and future needs of students who will be living along the Clements Ferry Road corridor. Next. When we got into the details as to how we wanted the academic programs to look, my only caution to the committee was not to get hooked up and caught up in acronyms, because acronyms basically describe what goes into a process, how you are going to do something. And I really wanted the committee to focus on, and they did, on outcomes. And so the K-8 facility that we are recommending will take the traditional areas of math, science, language arts, and social studies, be delivered through a STEAM academic delivery system with the following outcomes, which we believe are very important. That every student exiting that school will have critical thinking skills, will have problem-solving skills, will be able to do individual and collaborative research and do those individual and collaborative research projects, will be able to work in teams and groups. Now, if you listening to what I'm saying, this sounds almost like a commercial for all of the economic activity that's going on in this region, because this is what your employers want, is people who have this skill set. Fluency with existing technology and applications, familiarity with the arts, being creative, performing, visual arts, the whole nature, have writing and conversational skills, have character education, and have familiarity and fluency in at least one language in addition to their native tongue. The exit from this program and the entry into the high school, we want to be seamless. And additionally, students should be exposed to all the opportunities that are available to them as an exit immediately into the workforce or into post-secondary education of their choice. We further recommended that the facility be designed and constructed to allow the flexible adaptation to new technology, as we realize what is in right now will be out by the time the school comes out of the ground. We want to be able to accommodate future growth and fitting into the community. And we wanted to be able to attract potential new students because of its academic potential. If you'll notice the area in the bottom center, this is approximately a quarter of a mile of a little more from your high school, and after much consideration of safety and traffic and location and everything else, the committee decided that the most ideal location for the K-8 facility would be in that area. In the upper right is the location for the high school. And because we wanted this to be seamless, we anticipate that we'll have students who are in the 7th and 8th grades who will be sufficiently proficient that if they need to have access to academics and other things that are available at the high school, they are just a hop, skip, and a jump away, and therefore the The interlooping will be very easy to do. Oh, like pointer, so we will do that. This is the back one. Okay, this is and technology wonderful. Okay, all right.
Gotta be quick.
In coming to the conclusion as to the location of the school, we looked at safety in terms of traffic and all those other kind of things. We looked at transportation. We looked at what kind of clutter would be available along the Clements Ferry Road corridor. And we looked at DOT and the widening and all the other things. We looked at the ability to have collaborative spaces between the high school and the K-8 facility. And we took the input from the school structure and let that be the overlay. And so that is why we are recommending the site that is just down the road from the high school. In conclusion, the committee is recommending to the superintendent that the school to be built be a K-8 school of choice, serving primarily the students in the Clements Ferry Road corridor, and that it be located on the site that is in close proximity to the high school. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Thompson. You wanted to?
Say a few things,
yes.
questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gaither and committee members and staff that invested lots of time in this project. I think we have some committee members in the audience. Would you please stand so we could recognize you guys? We don't have a lot of time. We have a long agenda, but if one or two of you would like to make a comment for a minute or so, you're welcome to come at this time.
Thank you, Rodney, and Mr. Gaither and members of the board. I would like to thank you on behalf of at least the folks in my neighborhood for being permitted to participate in the committee and to work together with members throughout the affected area for the new school to try to develop what would be the best solution. And it was an educational process, I think, for all concerned, and it was a rewarding opportunity as well. And I think the recommendation as presented is a strong one, and it's a good use of tax money and planning for future growth. And I hope that the school board will consider it seriously, and particularly incorporating all 8 grades, or K through 8 grades, at one time. And I would like to thank the board also for its commitment to keeping K through 8 intact on Daniel Island as well, which is very important to the fabric of our community. And with that, I would just like to say thanks again.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from the board members or Mr. Gaither?
Do we have any questions or comments? Just a quick comment. I'm certainly glad our paths crossed, and they've crossed on a number of occasions, and we're certainly better off for having known you, Mr. Gaither. I want to once again thank all the members of your committee. You had a tough charge because you were trying to come up with a solution for many communities. This was not one community, this was many. And it certainly appears that what you've brought us is an outstanding recommendation, and I look forward to hearing more about it in the future and eventually acting on the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I'd like to thank the committee. They were just fantastic people.
They absolutely were. Dr. Etheridge.
Just as an educator of 40 years, every time I hear the word committee, I cringe. But I have to compliment you. This is an outstanding recommendation. I commend the committee and all of the individual members on it. This is an excellent recommendation that is obviously student-centered with education, safety, and community growth at its center, and I applaud you and I thank you very much.
I may make just a it's a tough act to follow. thanks again to all the committee members. And as I stated early in the process, and I'm going to speak for myself and not for the board at this time, I still think that our top priority has to be to get a high school in the Clements Ferry Road for our students that are traveling across the bridge from Daniel Island, Clements Ferry Road, and Cane Hoy. Just an example of that with the traffic on 526 on Friday. We had students that got home after 6:30 in the Cane Hoy and Daniel Island area. So we've got to get those buses from crossing the Don Holt Bridge, and hopefully we can get that high school done and on schedule. Then for me, the next priority is overcrowded conditions that we have at Daniel Island School. We've got to eliminate, we've got almost 1,400 students now in that building, and so we've got to do that, and the logical way to do that is to build a new facility or facilities that house grades K through 8. And then after we can solve that part of the equation, we can look at the academic programs that would serve that school. So again, thank you, and you've brought some wonderful recommendations tonight and a lot for us to consider, and you can look forward to some announcements of the next steps in the near future. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gaither. All right, Mr. Franchini, next up is agenda. Oh, Ms. Moore, I'm sorry, you had a question.
I have a
Yes, ma'am.
question for Dr. Thompson. The recommendation for this school, that's not going to take place until the high school, Cane Hoy High School, is built, is it?
The high school is already underway. We've already hired an architect and a contractor, and we're in the planning phases very diligently at this time. It's already underway. This project has not started yet.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Franchini, next up is agenda item 8B, entitled Quarterly Construction Report. Mr. Franchini.
Dr. Murray, I'd like to ask Ms. Connie Myers if she would come up and present the quarterly construction update to the board at this time.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, and members of the board. I'm here tonight to give you an update on the major school improvement bond projects and ask for approval to adjust some of the completion dates due to discovering additional information. Many of the projects are taking shape, and the learning environments being created are pretty amazing. I think you'll be pleased to see what has happened in the last 6 months. The first slide is the overall update of the schedule. As you know, we used to have 2 pages of schedule, and we put it all into one slide. With this slide, it's similar to the other previous slide where we took the timeline and divided it into different colors. The purple color means land acquisition. The gold line indicates procurement time. The blue line is the designer's design time. The red line is the bidding time, and the green line indicates construction. We will be talking about each project in further detail as we go through this presentation, but I wanted to touch on this overall schedule. At this time, we are still procuring 4 of the projects for land. Designer and contractors have been hired for all the projects except for the new middle school at Clements Ferry Road area. 6 projects are in the design phase, shown in blue. 1 project will be bid this month, and 1 project is under construction, shown in green. The first project, we also have the priority list here in completion order. So that's a little bit different from the order we previously presented it to you. The first project that will be completed is the Stratford High School addition and renovation, which is scheduled to start bidding in the next couple weeks. It is scheduled to be completed the spring of 2015. Next, an elementary school is shown next, and it's under construction with a completion date of May 2015. Cross High School renovation was initially scheduled to be completed in May 2015, but since this project will be completed while school is in session, the contractor has indicated he really needs to have 2 summers to finish the work. So we're asking to move the completion date from May 2015 to August 2015, a few months. Marrington Middle School additions and renovations is currently under design, and construction is scheduled to be complete in January of 2016. Unfortunately, with the Tanner area, Foster Creek area elementary school, we hit a setback when the rezoning of the property was not approved. We are requesting to extend the completion date for this project from August 2015 to May 2016. Goose Creek High School additions and renovations is under design. This project will also be completed while the school is occupied, and therefore the contractor will need the full summer at the end to complete the demolition. So we're requesting to extend the completion date from spring of 2016 to August of 2016. The scope and location is being finalized for the middle school at Clemens Ferry Road. We hope to be authorized to proceed with the procurement of the designer and contractor shortly. The estimated completion date for this project has not changed, and it's still August of 2016. For the new high school, which will serve the Cainhoy and Daniel Island areas, we expect the completion of the due diligence and close on the property next month in March. The completion goal for this project is August of 2017. The new elementary school at Fox Bay Plantation area is still scheduled to be completed in August of 2018. As you can see in the yellow words on the slide, we're requesting approval to change the overall schedule as follows. Cross High School completion date from May to August of 2015. Goose Creek High School completion date from spring to August 2016. And Tanner Foster Creek area elementary school completion date from August 2015 to May 2016. This next slide gives you a 12-month look ahead and kind of tells you the little activities that will be going on per month. As you can see, we got a busy month ahead of us. We got bidding going on. We got construction starting. We have designs being completed. But that kind of gives you an idea of what's going to be going on in the next 12 months. This next slide shows the location of each of the 9 major projects. As you can see, we have a large geographical area to cover. Now let's drill down and look at each of the projects individually. Nexton Elementary School is currently under construction within the Nexton development. The clearing of the site started on December 16th, and now we're preloading the building pad with soil so that it may surcharge. Surcharging means placing 5 feet high of soil on the footprint of the building, and this load will help to force settlement. Settlement is expected to take from 1 to 3 months. If all goes well, we expect to be able to start the foundations on this project in March after the groundbreaking ceremony, which we have tentatively scheduled for March 5th. Stratford High School additions and renovations will be the next project to start construction. The final set of drawings were submitted to OSF last week, and bidding will begin shortly. This project adds about 34,000 square feet of space, includes a 2-story classroom wing with 12 classrooms, 2 career technology education labs, and 1 special ed classroom. This project also expands the cafeteria from seating 419 students to about 670 students per each of the 3 lunch periods. A community input meeting was held on January 13th, and the project was approved by the Goose Creek Architectural Review Board on January 21st. Goose Creek High School additions and renovations. This is our most complicated project because we're going to add about 97,000 square feet of new building and renovate about 14,400 square feet of the existing building while the school is occupied. We'll be adding 2-story structures along the front and along the right side of the existing campus. The areas in pink show these new buildings nestled in between the existing buildings. This next slide shows a conceptual view of the design, and at the top view you can see the auditorium is in the center while the 2 new classroom wings flank it on either end. This next slide addresses the new elementary school at Foster Creek Tanner Plantation. We are currently investigating all suitable sites. We had a piece of property under contract contingent on the successful rezoning. Since rezoning did not transpire, we're trying to find another suitable site and need to extend the completion date of that project to May of 2016. Cainhoy Daniel Island High School. There are 2 major tasks going on with this project. This school is planned for 1,200 students with approximately 221,000 square foot of space. The architects have been meeting with the educators and are finishing up the programming effort. Concurrently, the due diligence studies are being completed on the property to ensure suitability of the site. The closing for the property is tentatively scheduled for March of 2014. The next slide is the Clemens Ferry Middle School. As you were just briefed, the steering committee has made recommendations for a STEAM school with grades K through 8 being served. The site evaluation steering committee has also recommended the potential donated property in Cainhoy Plantation. Due diligence services have been contracted, and we are expected to complete them by the end of February. The next step will be the selection of the architect and contractor for the project. The tentative scope will be an estimated 170,000 square feet to accommodate up to 1,400 students. Marrington Middle School addition and renovation. This award-winning School of the Arts needs to have a performance area, and that is the primary goal of the design. Additionally, several areas are being renovated to improve the function of the specialty classrooms. We are in the design development stage with this project, and the architects are working closely with the school steering committee to address the various requirements, needs, and desires. The new elementary school at Foxbank area, this school is scheduled to open in August 2018, so there is still plenty of time to get this project started. This site will be adjacent to a new fire station that the town of Moncks Corner is planning, and so we will start collaborating with the town once they have selected their architect. We expect this to happen in the next month. Cross High School renovation. We are currently in the design development stage of this project, where there are 3 major areas we will be addressing. We will reconfigure and upgrade the locker rooms adjacent to the gymnasium, move and upgrade the media center in an area of the school that will allow public access after hours. We're also going to carve out a little space for the bookmobile as part of this library media center. And finally, we're going to enlarge the auditorium into the space occupied by the existing media center. The architect has had several meetings with the steering committee and has listed the objectives for each area, as you can see on the slide. Early concept drawings are also shown. This slide shows the completion of the Timberland HVAC replacement project. The last time we briefed you on this project, it was still in progress. We wanted to bring closure to this project and let you know that the final outcome. The project was completed on time and under budget. The actual construction costs were below the GMP cost, and so the savings of $883,431 was deducted out of the project. Even with this savings, we were able to also complete some work that was not included in the original scope, such as providing another layer of insulation and ceiling membrane to the gymnasium, enlarging the band room door so oversized instruments can move in and out more easily, replace a pair of rusted exterior doors, replace flooring in the media production room, and replace the carpet at the auditorium ramp. As you can see, we are moving along with the various projects and trying to involve the community by forming steering committees and doing public presentations at appropriate times so we can receive some feedback along the way. All the projects must be submitted and approved by the State Departments of Education's Office of School Facilities. Early in the program, we had a joint meeting involving OSF, architects and contractors, so there is a good understanding to everybody about the review process OSF would like to follow. Additionally, at the onset, we also commissioned a study to determine the best HVAC system to use for the new school since the integer codes were recently updated. The study evaluated different systems using the criteria of energy costs, life cycle costs, and ease of maintenance. As a result of the study, the water source heat pump HVAC system will be used in all the new schools. Another challenge has been the 2012 International Building Code update. To a certain degree, the building codes have affected some foundation designs and are requiring some soil improvements. I thought I would also point out to you that we are requiring the designers and contractors to complete monthly executive summaries, and we are posting those reports on our webpage so people can follow along and keep up to date on each of the projects if needed. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Myers. Ms. Moore, if you'll start with the questioning.
My question is, did you say that you changed the starting date for the project at Cross High School?
No, ma'am, the completion date. Right now, it's supposed to be completed in May, and we need a couple more months so the contractor can work over the summer, so it'll be ready in August when the kids come back.
Or the completion date was
Yes,
changed?
ma'am.
Oh, what about Timberland?
Timberland's completed at this time.
The project for Timberland, it doesn't have the underbrush to clean the underbrush at between the school and the football field.
That was not part of this project, no ma'am.
Are we going to look at that though? I'm asking.
We can talk to the principal and he can request that as a capital improvement for this year. He sure can.
Oh, for this year, Captain. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you.
Some of that, I would say some of that land is wetlands and we're not allowed to disturb, so we'd probably have to get a survey first, but if it's land that you and I looked at before.
So in the wetland, they don't allow you to clean up the underbrush?
But we're not supposed to disturb wetlands.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Do we have any other questions or comments from Ms. Myers? Mr. Obie.
I do have a couple questions on the, seems like a lot of the schedules are slipping before the construction even starts. Why is that?
Because we initially did the schedule in a vacuum, and now we have designers and contractors and actually are putting physical schedules together and phasing plans. And as you know, a lot of the slippage is not really affecting any of the schools because we're slipping from a spring to the August, so they could take advantage of that time when students aren't there to finish up their work.
Yeah, I just worry about the teachers being able to move in and us being able to move in all the new desks and stuff like that throughout the summer, because I know technology grabs a lot of work to do to get in there, along with maintenance and stuff to put the desk and other things in
We'll
there.
do a lot like we did at Cane Bay Middle School, where we'll have the contractor working there with the furniture and the technology. We can work together amongst those times. But if they're demolishing the building at Goose Creek High School, I don't think that's going to affect the move-in stuff. So that's kind of it. We've kind of looked at it project by project and really tried to do what makes the most sense.
Okay, then the other question, I don't know, I misheard you. You said the Goose Creek Review Board had to approve Goose Creek High School's architect design?
Their architecture review board had to approve the architect.
Has the high school been annexed into the city?
Stratford High School is in the city.
But not Goose Creek?
That's correct.
I think she said Stratford.
Okay.
I said Stratford.
Okay, never mind.
All right, does that conclude your questions, Mr. Obie?
Yes,
All
sir.
right, are there any other questions or comments? Everybody good? Ms. Myers, we thank you so much for that in-depth report. Just a reminder to the board, this is an information-only item, so they'll be bringing some of this back to us at a later date. But thank you for the information update, Ms. Myers. All right, next up is agenda item number 9, entitled Financial Services. Tonight, we have 2 items for information from Mr. Thomas. The first is agenda item 9A. It's entitled Financial Report for the period ending December 31st, 2013. Agenda item 9B is entitled Semi-Annual Procurements Reports for July 1st through December 31st, 2013.
And I'm going to ask Mr. Franchini to come up and do the presentation. As you know, I wanted to give you an update on the FY 2013-14 financial report as of December 31. Obviously, that's 50% of the fiscal year. And of course, this is Area Focus 1. This is the general fund revenues to date, some $69 million received through December 31st. If you remember, we will not receive a majority of the taxes until January, February, which we are starting to get those in now. So we're a little behind budget to receive, but we actually caught up pretty quickly in January when we got the December taxes for that fiscal month. This is the expenditures to date, and we are actually right on target for the expenditure to date. If you remember, we'd like to see a little bit more than like 9 or 10% more to expend, and that's because of the summer teachers' salaries that we will accrue during July and August. This is the special revenue state and other restricted funds. Keep in mind, most of this is Title I and Special Education IDEA, which is on a reimbursable basis. A lot of those grants weren't approved until later, so we weren't able to start claiming them until later on in the fiscal year. So that's a little bit behind schedule, but we're catching up now. Again, the expenditures kind of mirror the general fund as far as teacher salaries, so we'd like to see that deviation as far as expenditures to date. Special revenue EIA. This is the EIA funds, which is that 1 penny sales tax, and that was passed in 1984. You can see we're similar to the other funds. And this is expenditures to date are 71% left to expend as well. So that's a good position to be in. A lot of these are salaries as well. Capital improvements or capital projects. This is, again, the referendum and capital improvements and those sorts of things. So you can see the revenue date. The revenue is majority of the special obligations bonds that were sold and the revenue that offsets the capital improvements. So so this budget will kind of be carried over several fiscal years related to the capital improvements and particularly the referendum. So you'll see this kind of over several years kind of being carried forward. And the expenditures today, a lot of it, again, this is referendum, so we are on the beginning edges of expending those funds. Food service, school nutrition, we are, a lot of this is federal reimbursement, so those are kind of like a month or two lag as far as getting those free and reduced revenues coming back from the federal government, so that's pretty normal compared to prior years. And again, the expenditures, a lot of them are salaries, so we'd like to see that deviation on the percentage of food service. We also want to give you a quick update as far as fiscal responsibility and professional development. These are just a list of things that our department has been involved in over the years, and just kind of want to give you an idea of kind of things that we've done this fiscal year and actually every fiscal year. Before I go into this, I'd like to recognize Marcy Abrahamson and Ashley Cass, our procurement department. So if y'all will kind of wave your hand, thank y'all very much. So a lot of, I think Connie referred to procurement a lot in her presentation, so I want to let you know they were here. So in your packet, you have these 4 reports that are required by the procurement code to be delivered to you every semi-annually. So wanted to make sure you acknowledge that in the minutes. No action was required, but we just want to make sure you have that. The folder is quite thick, so if you have any specific questions, I'll be able to ask those at your convenience at a later date or whenever you feel necessary. So if there are no questions, thank you very much.
All right, we'll open up the floor for any questions or comments for Mr. Thomas. Anybody? Mr. Obey?
I guess a request for the purchase orders over 100,000. Can we get it broken down or separated as in what are bond resolution monies and then what are regular monies that come out of the general fund and such?
We could probably do that by count code. Marcy, I think we could probably maybe do that. We can kind of give you a code of what the accounts mean, that sort of thing.
That'll work. And then in the tax information we get from the county, is it easy to read or easy to follow on where the fee and lieu monies come from? Do you have any type of breakdown of how much we get from each business, or is that kind of a
They have actually improved that process, a very extensive spreadsheet database. Before it was just an Excel spreadsheet with a list of companies and deviation of the different tax entities. So they're actually, I don't get that anymore. It's more of a database Excel spreadsheet that's aligned to the Treasurer's Office as well. So that's available. I think we can go look at it, but it's so large that they don't give that to us anymore, kind of thing. So, but I feel a lot more comfortable now with the new process versus the old one.
And the new process has been in effect, what, less than a year?
Less than a year, yeah. Or a year and a half, maybe.
Okay.
And Mr. Thomas, you can provide us with some of that information.
I
believe Mr.
yes, I can
Obi
get
wanted-
finance director there to get it
Good.
for us,
We'll get it
or a sample of, or something like that. It's a pretty extensive spreadsheet.
Brantley, would you comment about the TAN, the tax?
Oh, yes, I put that in my notes. The tax anticipation note that we approved for this fiscal year, we've actually paid that off, actually almost a month and a half earlier than we have any other fiscal year over the last 5 years. So that's a good sign. And I actually put that in my notes to tell you about that as well. So thanks for reminding me.
Thank you. Well done. Any other questions or comments for Mr. Thomas? Thank you so much for all you do. Thank you. All right, now we're moving to Human Resources, agenda item number 10. Tonight from Human Resources, we have the second reading of policies GBED, tobacco-free schools, JCDAA, use of tobacco, GBIA-R, evaluation of instructional staff. Dr. Levine, the podium is yours.
Good evening, Board Chair Murray, board members, Superintendent Thompson. The first reading of the noted policies was approved at the January 14th school board meeting. At this time, it is the recommendation of the administration to approve the second and final reading for policy GBED, tobacco-free schools, policy GCDAA, use of tobacco, and rule GBIA-R, evaluation of instructional staff.
All right, do I have a motion and a second for agenda item 10, the second reading of policies?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve agenda item 10 for second and final reading for policies GBED, tobacco-free schools, policy JCDAA, use of tobacco, and rule GBI-R, evaluation of instructional staff.
I'll second.
All right, thank you. Mr. Obie has made a motion to approve the second reading of the policies as outlined in agenda item 10. That motion has been seconded by Ms. Lee. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, we'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the second reading of policies GBED, JCDAA, and GBIA-R, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Dr. Levine, the motion carries unanimously. Your policies have been, the second reading of your policies have been approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is instruction and accountability under agenda item 11. Tonight, we have an item for information entitled Curriculum Units. Dr. O'Gorman, the podium is yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Murray, members of the board, Dr. Thompson, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take you through a bit of a blast through the past tonight. We're going to review a presentation that you saw back in July 10th of 2012. Just give you a quick overview of what our plans were back then, and then we're going to bring some life to that by letting you see what came from that vision. Prior to my starting, I want you to be aware of an article that I placed at your seats. There's a yellow highlight on it. This was a speech that Arnie Duncan gave last week. Ms. Stephanie Wallace of our teacher forum actually sent it to me, and after reading it, she said, wow, this sounds exactly like what's going on in Berkeley is happening across the rest of the country. I encourage you to read that article, and as you can tell, I've highlighted some stuff in there so you don't have to read it in its entirety unless you really just want to take a nap early on tonight, so it'll put you right to sleep. But it is a really great overview of what's happening across the country in terms of curriculum and instruction. Okay, so again, this was back in 2012, part of our strategic plan. We wanted to develop resources for the implementation of new standards, developing capacity through resources, technology, and physical plant to effectively implement those standards. We wanted to create instructional capacity. We wanted quality teaching units and lessons, in short, a new curriculum, if you will, to implement new standards. We wanted to align what we were doing across the entire district for consistency purposes, and we wanted advisory and feedback structures to monitor and support the implementation of those new standards in the curriculum that we were writing. Our essential questions were, what was the most effective way to produce new research-based curriculum for those standards, including assessment items for core subject areas that was easily accessible and user-friendly for teachers. We wanted to streamline our professional development for teachers with school-based coaches and principals and understanding how to use that curriculum, while also continuing to offer support and instructional strategies. And we wanted to monitor the curriculum, its use, and what was happening in the classroom, of course. So here's our conceptual framework of student success. We wanted professional development, which mostly came from our school-based coaches this particular year, our past year and a half. We've set up a common curriculum, common assessments, and common units. Our instruction is based on what's happening in professional learning communities at the school level, and while using research-based strategy leads to successful teaching which leads to student success. So pedagogy is just a fancy word for instructional practices. So our curriculum system, what is our vision for that? We wanted a virtual document for teachers. We wanted to inform their sequence and pacing in that curriculum. We wanted linking resources, content that teachers could use. We wanted model lessons with strategies that would engage students. And we wanted benchmark assessments, formative and summatives, with exemplar rigorous questions or open-ended tasks that determine mastery of targeted standards. We used Larry Ainsworth rigorous curriculum design. We trained all of the folks that put this curriculum together, through this specific textbook. And I want to recognize the hard work of teachers in this process. They were at the ground level helping write this curriculum along with school-based coaches, content coordinators, and things of that nature. And they are still working diligently to make sure that it is working to the best needs of our students. We also said back then that we didn't think that teachers would have everything that they needed right off the bat to start the school year. We acknowledged that we would stumble, we will learn, and we'll keep our students as the focal point for our continuous improvement. And again, if you go back and read that speech from Arnie Duncan, it talks about this entire process going on across the country. So I'm going to introduce Kelly Gebhardt. She is one of our instructional coaches from Sangaree. She snuck up behind me. And so she's going to walk you through what teachers see in terms of using this curriculum and give you some talking points.
Good evening, Board. First, I want to show you exactly what a teacher sees when she is looking for her units, pardon me. When you go to the Berkeley County School District webpage, this is what you'll see. Where that red arrow points is a link to our district portal. When a teacher selects that portal, she or he will have to sign in using their network password. There's a link to instruction and accountability. When they select that option, they are then given access to this page where they can select what units they're looking for, whether that be ELA or math. We also have it broken down to elementary and secondary. What I have here is an example from math for our elementary. So the teacher at this point can get the documents for her long-range plan, get their pacing calendar, and all of their units for the entire year. When they click on that unit, they're given their assessments, both pre and post. They're giving engaging learning experiences, also referred to as performance tasks. And those are kind of the meat of the units, and that guides their instruction. So once the teacher has been given all of that information and they implement it, we are hungry for their feedback. We have a feedback form on the portal, which is also the intranet, where teachers can submit their comments, their questions, and their concerns about the units that we've given them. This is something they can type directly into. Most often they submit this to their coaches at school, and the coaches will submit that to the curriculum coordinators. Now, what I just showed you was one of several avenues that they have of providing us with feedback. This chart right here shows you one of the options where teachers can go to their leadership team, to their administration, and that is going back into the district instructional leadership team. And the information flows back and forth quite fluidly and quite frequently. Another opportunity that the teacher may have to give her feedback is she can speak directly to anybody in the district instructional leadership. The doors are always open. Teachers are definitely approaching the content coordinators quite frequently. Also, teachers are able to attend Spotlight professional development sessions. These sessions include reviews where they can look at the upcoming units, give their feedback, and discuss. The teachers can get trained on any content questions that they might have. And we also have sessions where they can meet and discuss aftermath, what they felt about the unit and what changes they'd like to see for the upcoming school year. And again, this kind of just goes back to that feedback. The feedback, once it's been given to the content coordinators, is given back to the coaches. And the coaches work together, and we create a trend sheet. And on that trend sheet, we almost in a way disaggregate that data, and we make it to where it's easily read and we can sort through it. We discuss that with the other coaches and the coordinators, and we make corrections, revisions, and adjustments, all of which is shared to teachers. So what challenges do we have? We have a few challenges. This is new content for teachers. This is a new way of thinking for a lot of us. The curriculum units are provided to guide as both the teachers and the students learn this new material. Are there learning gaps? Absolutely. We went from our old South Carolina standards to the Common Core standards quite quickly. And that is another benefit of these units. The units allow teachers to have a framework, a guide that directs their instruction, while they too are learning what these standards mean. It does cause for some uncomfortable moments when teachers are having to release those traditional instructional strategies. We are focusing again on career readiness, and so the students are being asked to speak in a more professional manner. It's less sit and get and more of a discussion environment. Another interesting part to this is we are on common pacing with teachers across the district. At any time, you can go into any school within the same grade level and see the same standard being taught. You'll see it taught differently because of teachers' style, but the actual lessons will have that same theme. Any questions?
I have a question.
Ms. Moore, yes, ma'am.
Are you moving to unit plans instead of daily lesson plan?
Right now, it's not a daily lesson plan. When a teacher goes to the curriculum unit on the portal, they're given the pre and the post assessment. They're giving a performance task, which is almost like an activity that they could do. And this activity, or maybe 3 activities, kind of guides them along through the standards that are within that one unit. And that helps kind of guide their instruction. Teachers are still responsible for looking for materials to supplement those units.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or comments for Ms. Gebhardt? Just a quick comment. I was reviewing the PowerPoint earlier in the week, and I really like the fact that anonymity is present, because you want your teachers to speak from the heart, not to hold anything back. That's how we can reach that level of improvement that we desire. Now, my concern in seeing your flow chart, is that information filtered when it goes from the teachers to the administrators to the district office? Do you have anything in place to, because you know it's human nature to not want to forward concerns and complaints at times, but do you have something in place to ensure that the information is getting from the classroom to the district office?
Well, Dr. Murray, to speak freely to you, I don't think that we have any issues with teachers not being willing to share their opinions.
I would agree. When it comes to my wife, I agree with you, Ms. Gebhardt.
That's something that they're really skilled at. The teachers are definitely anonymous in their feedback, but that doesn't seem to be an issue or a concern. They are very vocal. I have to say our teachers have their children first and foremost, and if there's any concerns, they're willing to step up and address those.
I appreciate that. And your presentation was very helpful to me. It was good to see you at the microphone. Any other questions or comments for Dr. O'Gorman or Ms. Kelly Gebhardt? Nope. Thank you so much. We appreciate your time. Now we'll move on to agenda item 12, entitled the Superintendent's Report. Board, we do have 3 items for action as part of the Superintendent's Report, and those are the Howe Hall Ames lottery procedures, a Berkeley Middle College change, and a surplus property donation. Dr. Thompson.
Thanks. First, for the Howe Hall Ames lottery procedures, I'm asked Dr. Gelman to come to the podium with this information.
Good evening. Chairman Murray, board members, and Superintendent Thompson. Thank you so much for allowing us to present this information to you tonight. In your packets, you have been provided with the revised Hal Hall Ames Enrollment and Lottery Handbook. The availability of arts magnet opportunities in our district has changed over the years since this grant was written and approved. Marrington Middle School is now considered to be in the feeder pattern because it's now Marrington Middle School of the Arts, as also we have Goose Creek High School and their arts programs. Mr. Swetke has presented this information to the Hal Hall Ames School Improvement Council and at the January PTA meeting. He's also met with parents that had concerns over the initial process. All of the revision feedback that he has received has been positive. And so based on this feedback, it is the administration's recommendation to the board that we be allowed to move forward with posting the updated Hal Hall Ames Enrollment and Lottery Handbook.
Thank you, Dr. Gelman. Prior to discussion, do I have a motion and a second for agenda item 12A entitled Hal Hall Ames Lottery Procedures?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the board's recommendation to approve the Hal Hall Arts-Infused Magnet School Enrollment and Lottery Handbook for the 2014-2015 school year as presented.
I'll second your motion, Mr. Obie. We have a motion made by Mr. Obie. It has been seconded by Chairman Murray to approve the item for action as outlined in agenda item 12A. Do we have any discussion regarding this motion? Dr. Etheridge.
Dr. Gelman, could you explain, I had a call today on this particular item relative to the attendance of siblings, especially when they are, a family has students in Hal Hall Ames that then go out, but a sibling is following them. What's the new procedure or the current procedure?
Well, the new procedure would be if the student has a sibling that's currently if they are currently attending Ames, or if they have matriculated from Ames and are attending Marrington Middle School of the Arts.
So then the sibling would be allowed to attend?
That's correct.
Yes, sir.
In essence, the major change to this policy, it extends the sibling policy through the 8th grade. It impacts very few family members, but we do have family members that drive students a long way to get to Hal Hall or Marrington, and it would be a benefit for them to extend this sibling benefit.
That's good. Thank you.
We have any other discussion? Mrs. Lee.
How many families are we talking? My first question would be, how many openings are there every year for students that don't currently have a family member at Hal Hall Ames, as far as the lottery is concerned?
I don't have that information.
Principal Swecke's here, and he has that information with him. I asked him to compile that. So, can you speak to that, Chris?
Yes, sir. Good evening, members of the board, and I'd like to thank you as well for your service. I can speak to the last 2 years that I've been entrusted as the principal of the school. In 2012, we had 424 legitimate applications. I call them legitimate because we get a number of folks from Dorchester 2 and Charleston County who try to apply each year. We also have a number of people who try to send multiple applications for the same child in order to increase their odds each year. So we had 424 legitimate applications in 2012's lottery for the 2012-13 school year. We had 65 students selected from that lottery pool. We had one sibling that would not have fallen under this category with the new approval. In 2013, we had 530 legitimate applications, about a 25% increase. We had 55 students selected from the lottery pool. And once again, we had one sibling who had a student who matriculated to Marrington who was not selected. I've done a projection, and I'm going to caution that this is anecdotal data based on a survey of students saying who's got somebody here who's going to be in kindergarten next year. This is not parent information. But based on that input from students and the parents I've heard from, we are expecting approximately 600 legitimate applications this year. Based on our current enrollment, we are anticipating drawing about 60 to 65 students this year. And the siblings of former Ames students that would be entering in the kindergarten pool next year would be 3. If this projected change were approved, we would anticipate, once again, 600 applications and 60 students selected from the lottery pool, which is consistent with the mean number we've had for the past 3 years.
Excellent. Ms. Lee, any other?
That answers my second question, is how many families are we talking about? So very low.
All right. Are we ready to call the question? Any other comments? Hearing none, we will entertain Mr. Obie's motion. In the matter of Agenda Item 12A, entitled Howell Hall Ames Lottery Procedures, a motion was made by Mr. Obie and seconded by Chairman Murray to approve the district's recommendation, again, to approve the changes to the Howell Hall Ames Lottery. All those in favor of approving the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. The Howell Hall Ames lottery procedures have been approved. Thank you, Dr. Gilman. Next up is Berkeley Middle College.
Thank you, and I'm asked Dr. McLaren to come to the podium for this item for action.
Good evening, Chairman Murray, Dr. Thompson, members of the board. The Berkeley Middle College has been highly successful in attaining its goal of assisting at-risk students, both in being able to graduate on time and also in being able to get a leg up on their college and career readiness while they're there. Due to the size and the facility of the Berkeley Middle College, it functions more like a magnet program than an independent school. Additionally, because it serves only juniors and seniors, it does not receive a graduation rate like our other high schools. Like students in our other high school magnet programs, the Star Academy and the Alternative School, Berkeley Middle College's students currently participate in extracurricular activities at their home high schools. Therefore, it is the administration's recommendation that the board allow us to move forward in establishing the Berkeley Middle College as a magnet program for the district instead of remaining an independent school.
Thank you, Dr. McLaren. It is the district's recommendation to approve Agenda Item 12B. Do I have a motion and a second regarding this matter?
Yes, sir. I move that the board approve Berkeley Middle College to become a magnet program for the district in lieu of remaining an independent school contingent upon the auspice of South Carolina Department of Education.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Lee has made a motion. That motion has been seconded by Dr. Etheridge to accept the recommendation of the district to approve Berkeley Middle College to become a magnet program for the district in lieu of remaining an independent school contingent upon the auspice of the South Carolina Department of Education. Do we have any discussion regarding this motion?
I do have a quick question.
Mr. Obie?
I've got a short-term memory. Does that mean that the kids that go there now, that their graduation rate applies back to their home school, or that it no longer applies back to their home school with this change?
With this change, their graduation rate would apply back to their home school.
Okay. And they can still participate in extracurricular activities at their home school?
Correct, which is the same as what occurs now.
Yeah.
Does that conclude your questions?
Yes, yeah.
All right. Dr. Etheridge.
Dr. McLaren, has any decision been made on how these students would interact with class placement once they return, when their attendance is recorded back at their home school?
They will be students at their home high school. As far as all those specific details, we are continuing to iron those out.
Okay.
Yeah, they would count back in their class rank at their home school.
At their home school, okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, we'll call the question. A motion was made by Ms. Lee, seconded by Dr. Etheridge, to approve Berkeley Middle College to become a magnet program for the district in lieu of remaining an independent school contingent upon the auspice of the South Carolina Department of Education. All those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously. Dr. McLaren, your recommendation has been approved. Up next is Agenda Item 12C, entitled Surplus Property Donation.
Thank you, Dr. Murray, and I'll handle this item for action. We have a request from the St. Thomas United Methodist Church in the Cane-Hoy-Hugie area. They're going to start an after-school program in the Baldwin Center, which is the former Head Start building that's sitting vacant currently. For our students from Cane-Hoy, we do not currently have an after-school program at that school, but they've requested that we donate surplus furniture. So tonight we ask for approval to donate 108 student chairs, 2 file cabinets, 18 tables, and 6 desktop computers, 6 bookshelf cubbies that are in our surplus building that we're not currently using in our schools, and these are computers that have been taken out of service and upgraded for these students. So tonight we're asked for approval to donate the surplus property to the St. Thomas United Methodist Church for the after-school program for our Cane Hoy students.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Do I have a motion and a second for agenda item 12C, surplus property donation?
You do, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to donate furniture consisting of 108 student chairs, 2 4-drawer file cabinets, 18 tables, 6 desktop computers, and 6 bookshelf cubbies to the Cane Hoy Hugie Enrichment Academy, sponsored by the St. Thomas United Methodist Church.
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, Dr. Etheridge has made a motion to approve the recommendation of the district. That motion has been approved by Ms. Lee. Do we have any discussion regarding Dr. Etheridge's motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Are we prepared?
Yep.
A motion has been made by Dr. Etheridge, and I'll read that for the record. He has moved that we approve the superintendent's recommendation to donate furniture consisting of 108 student chairs, 2 4-drawer file cabinets, 18 tables, 6 desktop computers, and 6 bookshelf cubbies to the Cane Hoy UG Enrichment Academy, sponsored by the St. Thomas United Methodist Church. All those in favor of this motion, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. The motion carries unanimously.
I have two other items for information. I know Mr. Thomas inspired all of us tonight with his budget presentation. But the 14-15 budget season, the preparation for that is getting underway. So next Tuesday night, prior to our originally scheduled board meeting, we'll have a budget workshop at 5 p.m. and look at the projections for next school year to date. So that will be 5 o'clock here in the boardroom prior to our regular scheduled meeting. And then lastly tonight, I'd like to congratulate Hanahan Middle School and Hanahan Elementary School. They were nominated by the South Carolina Department of Education for participation in the National Blue Ribbon School Program. So congratulations to Hanahan Elementary and Hanahan Middle, and we look forward to the next steps in this process for those schools. I will add that there are only 5 schools in the state that were nominated, and 2 of the 5 were from Berkeley County. So congratulations again. That's what I have.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Thompson, and congratulations to Hanahan Elementary and Hanahan Middle, as well as our previous Blue Ribbon Award winners, if I recall, Howell Hall and Marrington. It's great news. It is now time to move on to agenda item 13, entitled Executive Session. Tonight, the board will move into the executive session for the approval of, or to hear, an attendance appeal, an expulsion appeal, personnel considerations, contractual matters, and a legal briefing. We need a motion to move into executive session. Do I have a motion and a second?
Mr. Chair, I move that we move into executive session.
Second.
Thank you. Ms. Lee has made the motion to move into executive session. That has been seconded by Ms. Moore. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. 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 All opposed, same sign. Obviously, that's not necessary. We move into executive session.